I'll be very brief. You all have been so kind to me in recent months, letting me come by and share what we've been up to. But Mike is someone, Mike Collins, I met in 2021. It was at the Georgia State Convention down in Jekyll Island, and a good friend of mine, who is his chief of staff, Brandon Phillips, said, "Hey, I want to have an opportunity to introduce you to somebody running for Congress to replace Jody Hice." Does anybody remember Jody Hice? So that's Georgia's 10th district, and it's just to our east. In fact, we share a part of Henry County together. And Brandon's somebody, his chief of staff, who I knew because Brandon was the state director for President Trump in 2016 in those early primary days, and we really grinded to make sure President Trump was our nominee and won all the delegates at the state convention. On to the national convention. So I had a chance to meet Mike then, and that relationship grew over the 2 years when he became the nominee, went through a 7, 8, 9-way primary to become the nominee, decisively won the general election in 2022. And in 23, he and I had a conversation. I was working for President Trump at the time, and he was one of the first members of Congress to go up to Bedminster, offer President Trump his support as he sought to go back to the White House to become the 47th president. When I had this opportunity to run to represent our district, it was very special because I looked at the lineage of people who have represented us beforehand. And one of them is Mac Collins. And we'd look at the Ojanos and some others around here. And it carried great weight with me because, of course, Mike is his son. And as it relates to my campaign, Mike gave me a lot of advice in those early days. And some of you may remember, this is not the first time Mike's been in this room, but in June of 2024, when I was in my runoff election, Mike, along with Jim Jordan, along with another congressman from Utah, came here in this packed room. It was sweltering hot, hundreds of people within to offer his support for me. And as I've become a legislator, I now know how hard it is to get bills passed. And I'm a little envious because as the President Trump has signed 31 bills into law, the most important of which, frankly, is the One Big Beautiful Bill, which was signed into law on July 4th, sweeping legislation that enacts over 90% of his entire agenda through the power of the purse. But within those 31 laws, I myself, with the support of people in this room, got a chance to pass one about water heaters that affected Renai. We all know that story. That was the sixth law signed into law by President Trump in his second term, but the first law signed into law by President Trump during his second term was Mike Collins' Laken-Riley Act. And I will let him speak to it. But as a legislator, I also know it's challenging to get a law through the legislative process. He also got a law passed in the previous administration. So he's one of the few people that get a law passed under two different presidents. I know which president he enjoyed working with the most. But I say that because I think we're all very excited and honored to hear from him. And as you look around, and obviously Mike is no stranger to this room, but to have 100 people here on a Sunday or on a Saturday in August in the off election year is really a testament to the power and strength of this party. It's a testament to Chairwoman Kilgore and everyone else that helps lead this party. You're not going to see too many county parties across our state with this good of turnout every time. And as I invite Mike up to the stage, I want to give him one gift, something that gave me inspiration, something that gave me a lot of encouragement. When I was running for Congress, when I got elected to Congress, I wanted to learn what my predecessors did in the past, and I was given to me, I know you've got a lot of mementos, but this is a newsletter from your father, and it's very important to me because within it, I'm giving it to you, it talks about your father addressing a Fayette County meeting, or Republican Party meeting in 1997. So for you, this could give you some inspiration, but I want to give it to you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Congressman, you're going to make me get emotional. It's before I get started on any of this, appreciate that, Brian. When I was here last year, and by the time we got through with that day, I was telling everybody it felt like it was homecoming. The third district is so special to me and my family because I campaigned over here forever, and so and never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I would be standing in front of you talking about what we're going to talk about today. But Brian, I appreciate that. Appreciate the gift and the warm welcome. Senator Harbin, appreciate your endorsement. Thank you. I'll give y'all a Matt Collins rule right off the bat. Matt Collins always said, you can have God without government, but you can't have government without God. So, thank you for what you do. I know Josh Bonner, I think he had to leave, but there he is. I appreciate your support and your endorsement as well. Where's Representative Mathiak? Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your support and endorsement as well. Where's the chairwoman? Where'd she go? Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for having us today. It's really weird, y'all, that the first stop I made in the whole state is in Fayette County. And I want to thank you for having us. It's truly special for me in a lot of different ways. I also want to recognize, just real quick, because some people have already asked me, where's Kevin? All right, Kevin's over here. He's with our campaign. Brandon's here with our campaign. We have yard signs out back somewhere around here. We'd love to be passing them out. We are big on yard signs. We're big on marking neighborhoods and knocking on doors. Anything you could do to help us get that out, I would appreciate it. But, when I campaigned this last time around, and you can see I just jotted it down, I always start out with a survey question. So that's what I want to do today. I want to start out by asking you a question. And I want you just to raise your hand if you think the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate should, at a bare minimum, be someone who's been in the fight, or at least some tiny level for the America First agenda, just like everybody else in this room. Would you raise your hand if you think that's right? Thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I feel too. And when I say that, and when I ask that question, I want to thank each of you, because y'all are out there fighting for this America and America First. And look at what it produced. We got President Trump across the finish line. We kept the majority in the House, and we flipped that Senate. And now we're going to build on that majority when we send that trust fund baby home in November of 2026. I want to give you some brief reasons on, because I love question and answer more than stand up here and talking. But I wrote down some things this morning before I left on just why I'm going to win this race. And it has to do with the fact that people see my work ethic, they see our record, and they know that we have the right message. And when you look at work ethic, there's a reason that they put up a sign beside me that says workhorse. That's because, number one, I don't do messaging bills. If you got a messaging bill, don't bother me with it. I want true policy bills. I'm not up there for politics. I'm up there for policy. I want things that'll win, that'll make a change and make a difference in Americans' lives. I think that's the reason why I'm on the WHIP team. That's the reason that so many people come up, and it's humbling, and I don't mean this braggadocious, but it's humbling. People come up to me and ask me how I feel on these issues. Where do I stand? And how am I voting? There's a reason why I have been successful, like Congressman Jack said. I mean, I'll give you a couple of examples that haven't been mentioned. There's a company in Atlanta right now. Y'all probably don't know about it. They've got a hypersonic engine. Well, guess what they're doing today because of something that I got pushed through that FAA bill last year? They're flying that hypersonic engine in California right now. It is so important that we stay ahead of the Chinese, and yet we have a federal government that has been oppressing and pushing these small businesses down to the point where they can't survive. Well, we fixed it for that company. Here in Fayette County, I know this means a lot to folks in Fayette County, the 529 savings plan. That was my bill. I had over 160 co-sponsors on that piece of legislation. Yeah, it was bipartisan by that point. But simply put, it just said that you could take your savings plan and you could spend it to send your child to go get accredited and get certified to be a commercial airline pilot or be a certified aircraft mechanic. We got that put into the big, beautiful bill this year, and it's passed into law, and now folks can use their own money, which they should be able to. That's common sense, in my opinion. I'll give you one last thing that we did. Brunswick Port. Y'all probably don't know this, but I'm the chairman of the Water Resource and Environment Subcommittee and Transportation Infrastructure. Pretty big little old deal. I didn't realize it until I got my hands on it. But you know what? The Army Corps of Engineers are under my jurisdiction. First place we went was Brunswick, Georgia. I'm sure y'all remember a ship that laid on its side and got cut up to be hauled off. Y'all realize that place hadn't been fully dredged since 2015? Now, they bring in twice as much money in a year off of ships coming in there from port charges as it would cost to keep that thing dredged. But with the inefficiency and unproductive Army Corps we have and the inefficient federal government, they're sitting out there with a major problem. We went down there and I addressed it as nicely as I could. But y'all may not believe this, but about 4 weeks later, they had $35 million sitting down there, and they were going to dredge that thing as soon as they could get a contract. That's what we do. That's why people call us a workhorse up there. You know, I'll finish it with this. If y'all see me at the end of the week, and we get on an airplane, I get on Delta, and I fall asleep before we back away from the gate, y'all got your money out of me that week. But I'm going to tell you something. The good Lord put me on this earth to work, and I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, that's it's kind of a bit of contention with my wife a little bit, but that's okay, because that's the way you get things done up there. You just go to work and you get it done. You know, the other thing is I like to talk about kind of what Congressman Jack led into. You know, if I had to end my career today and go home, I would consider it one of the most successful careers in Congress. I would. You know, to get two pieces of legislation, standalone legislation, passed into law by two presidents of two different parties in 2 years and 2 months, that's pretty darn strong. And with that last one being the Laken Riley Act, and I know the president said, Mike, you could tell it was personal. Yeah, it got personal. It did. It did. When that family made 2 phone calls, one to the U.S. Senate and one to the representative, well, the representative stood up. That lousy U.S. senator we got, no, he sat on his hands. I went over and met with him personally. I know what he did. Nothing. Didn't even vote for it. You see, I think when you look at our voting record and you look at why we've been successful, I think one of the main reasons is everything I look at, y'all, is from a business person's perspective. It's all I've been all my life, small businessman. What's the problem? What's the solution? And how do we fix this so that it never happens again? And that's the way we go through our bills. That's the way we run our legislation. You know what? I'm gonna give you the third reason, and this is another Matt Collins rule. It's amazing how much I remember now. You know, when my dad first passed away, I didn't remember a lot of stuff he said, but since I've been up there, it just floods through for some crazy reason. But my dad always said, son, there is nothing of consequence that's going to happen in this town up here, Washington, D.C., until the American people demand it. And that's exactly the approach we took with Laken Riley Act. Told my team we got to keep that name in the news all the time, every day. Pretty soon it's going to be the face of this problem, and then we're going to make sure that the American people understand this is the solution and this is how you fix it forever. And that's how Laken Riley got moved up the board, got put up there first, and it was the first piece of legislation that President Trump signed when he got back into the White House. The other thing I want to talk to you about is the fact that we have the right message for this. You know, I campaigned the first time around. I told folks, my kids just don't have the same opportunities that I had. You know, I started my first business in my early 20s, and they just don't have that. Why is that? That's because the federal government has regulated and taxed small businesses and big companies, but small businesses to the point where they just fold up and they go out of business. Or big corporations, they go overseas where they can at least make a living and make a profit for their shareholders. And we needed to get back to that. The fact that we had wide open borders. The fact that the Biden administration was allowing people to just flood into this country. And here we are housing them, feeding them, clothing them, transporting them. And we got homeless vets living under bridges. That's not the America I knew. You see, I believe, you know what? This is where the Baptist comes out of me, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all something. I believe in America first, 100%. We are the biggest, the baddest country in this world. We ought not go around apologizing to every country in the world for what we are. We ought to have people look up to us. There's no problem with us being the best. There's no when we look at a piece of legislation from America's first standpoint, you know what that means? That means that I look at it, is it good for our country and is it good for the American people? If it's not, I'm not for it. And here's the thing. We've passed good legislation out of the House. And here's where the problem lies. It lies in the Senate. Man, we sent so many good pieces of legislation over in the 118th Congress that just fell in the black hole, never to be seen. Not anymore. We're going to change that. We're going to push to that 60 marker. I tell folks all the time, you know, I hadn't been in politics. I mean, I've been around it. Y'all know who I've been around it all my life. But I didn't get elected until the 118th Congress. First served in 2023. Didn't have any opposition to speak of this last time around. Got out there and helped 9 other candidates across this country because I felt like I needed to build that majority in the House. And not just build a majority, but y'all, we got to build a majority with the right people. That's right. You can pedal hard, but you may not be the right person for the job. Right. And that's what we've got to make sure in this U.S. Senate race. Listen, what's the mission? The mission is to make sure that we put a solid, conservative, proven person in the U.S. Senate so that we can grow that majority, so that we can continue with America First agenda, so that we can pass President Trump's agenda and make sure that we keep this country moving in the right direction. Can't do that without one thing, though, and I need your help. I need your vote. I know it's a ways off, but I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate come November or January 27th. I got time for some questions. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
There's been bills that have been gone through the state of Georgia and are now at the federal level that will give blanket immunity to pesticide companies. And I don't think any company or industry should have blanket immunity to do whatever they want without any repercussions. So it's right now, I think it's out of the Agriculture Committee at the federal level, and it really needs to be stopped and modified. Because we can't have our companies poisoning food, causing leukemia, cancers, etc., and none of us will be able to take to be reimbursed for our health problems. All those medical costs will be borne individually by us. We have no recourse here in Georgia. Let's not do it at the federal level.
I think what you're seeing, and a great question, because it not only leads into where we've been, and y'all, this has taken decades. I mean, we've been just kind of like the frog in the pot, and we've had decades of this building on us. Now you have got a President Trump and his second administration that understands that he has got to build a team, and his cabinet has got to be people that he wanted. First time around, he took what he could get, which was establishment. This time around, he's got people that mean business. You got Kennedy sitting there. He is changing everything from people to rules over there. And that's where we got to back them up. And there's another side to that too. And I know Senator Harbin mentioned it. But for the federal level, you know, there's a lot of frivolous lawsuits out there too that need to be stopped. I've not only got the stage accident bill out there, but we're dropping tort reform on the federal level come September. By God, we're gonna stop a lot of this frivolous, unnecessary lawsuits that have been out there hindering and costing money, your money. You know, when I'm told it takes 10 years to do a road project, and that's what Russell McMurray told me, 10 years in the state of Georgia. The first 7.5 are getting permits and fighting lawsuits. 2.5 years to do the construction. You tell me what kind of common sense and how that's fair to the American people. By God, it's time to stand up and put a stop to it. And you're going to see that across every agency with this administration, and you're going to see it coming out of Congress. So anything that frees up and make sure that the American people come first,
Amen.
we're going to look at it. Yes, ma'am.
Mike?
Yeah. Good night above.
Brian Jack introduced us to the idea that Fayette County needs a state of red. We see red all over the place. Keep Fayette County red is our slogan. I'd like to get your thoughts on what we can do, or if you feel that thread, there was only a 3-point spread line between Harris and Trump in the last election. That's bad news. What can we do to change it?
You know, I'm glad you asked that, Randy. Y'all realize in the 10th district it outperformed President Trump by 5 points?
Wow. Good.
I just simply say that because you got to put the right candidate in there, and once you do that works. Here's the other thing, and I heard it. Man, if y'all seen me back here, I was pacing, squirming around like a cat on a hot tin roof. Talking about Board of Elections and local elections. You don't know how to fix this? Go back to partisan politics. Go back. Make sure that we're not having beauty contests at the local level. Because I'm going to tell you, you put the right people in the Board of Education, you put the right people on City Council, and if they know who's Republican and who's Democrat, the American people and the people in this county understand what side of the fence, at least where you stand from basic rights and basic policy. And then you get away from a beauty contest and you get into the fact, well, maybe we don't need Democrats running this place. So I encourage everybody, if that's been on our platform forever in Butts County. See, I was the chairman at Butts County for 8 years. And we always said that. And we need that. We need to go back. I don't care if it's dog catcher. We need to know where you stand from a basic standpoint.
That's right.
Good.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, Randy.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Charlene Alexander. I'm on the Board of Elections for Fayette County. So election integrity.
Thank you.
Election integrity is my heart, and that's how I vote. What can the federal government, I know President Trump has come out with an election integrity bill. It seems in Georgia that we are not pushing hard enough. What can the federal level do? Stay back, where is that? Where's stay back and on voter ID and keeping non-citizens from voting?
And dead people too.
I would say this. I wouldn't want the federal government doing anything for me. I think it should be a state's right, and I think the states ought to take care of it. If you let the federal government get involved in this, then when the next administration, you may not like what they push down your throat. So let's keep this. This was states' rights. It should be states' rights. Senator, if I was in charge down here, I'd pick up the phone. I'd call down there to Florida, and I'd ask Governor DeSantis, where are you ordering your ballots from? What about getting me some too? And let's get back to paper ballots. It's not that hard. Now, you may have to re-educate the younger crowd on what the voting tool is. They probably don't know a pencil. But that's all right. Yes, ma'am.
The attack on our law enforcement officers, specifically the ICE, the Border Patrol, the uptick from the federal level, given what you just said, this isn't something the states can control. What legislation would you like to see passed through to up the consequences for these people who attack our law enforcement officers?
Well, I think we need to make sure that we do away with funding sanctuary cities. Period. Sanctuary states, no funding. I'm sick and tired. That mayor in Athens, Georgia, he may not be labeling that as a sanctuary city, but he's running it as one. He should have resigned the next day off of that. But we shouldn't be funding it. The other thing that in the big beautiful bill, we put a lot more money in there for Border Patrol and making sure that we are paying them for putting their life on the line, what they need to be paid for, and ICE. But the biggest thing, y'all, where's our law enforcement? Those guys right there are and I mean this wholeheartedly. Y'all, we can't repay you for putting your life on the line every day. And most people think it's to keep us safe, and it is. But when you get down to the fundamental reason that they're out there, it's called law and order. And y'all, we have gotten so far away from that in this country. We've got a morality problem. We've got a problem that we don't respect the law. If you don't want to obey that law, don't worry about it. As a matter of fact, it's been encouraged and condoned to attack our law enforcement. And we've got to start standing up for law and order. That's one reason that we secured that border down there. That wall is being built. And you've seen the lowest rates of people coming across it. 0 is a pretty darn good number. But we've got to make sure that when people come across this border illegally, that they're going to go home. Now, if you want to come over here and work, we need your help. No doubt about it. Our farmers need them bad. They got a work visa program. But you need to be coming across here legally. We got time for one more.
Last question. I have a question. Since you're leaving Congress and going to the Senate,
Yes, sir.
and there's a lot of congressmen running for governor and stuff like that, and we're kind of thin in Congress, is there a plan to backfill your position in Congress?
There's some good folks in the 10th district. There is. I know Houston Gaines has already announced. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do. We need to make sure that, and that's where I was getting at earlier. You can put somebody in Congress now, and of course I see that, but you got to put the right people in Congress. So, and there's a big push on that. You know, hey, I've got 4 or 5 people across the country, and y'all, when we went, we didn't go do a dog and pony show and give them a check and say, hey, and go home. I stayed there for 2 or 3 days, knocking on doors, and we left some good people on the battlefield, and we need to go back and get them. Because we need to make sure that we grow that majority in the House, and we're going to do that. The only thing I'm going to do is throw my chair on top of the desk, and I'm going to push it across the rotunda. I'll still be there. Hey, I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you. Love to have you here.